APNA is delighted and honoured to be part of the APNA 2024 Virtual Summit. My name is Helen McCarthy and I am the current president of the International Nanny Association. I would like to personally invite you all to join us at our annual conference, which will be held in Portland, Oregon from May 16th to May 18th. Our workshops will cover a range of topics designed to help your company thrive. For more information and to register, please visit our website at inaconference.org.
Hello, APNA. I am so excited to be here. My name is Lindsay Rose, and if I have not had the privilege of getting to know you, I wanted to tell you a little bit about myself and a little bit about the session that I'm going to be doing with you today. I am a mother of two little boys and wife to my college sweetheart, and I have been with Mom's Best Friend, Dallas in Fort Worth, for 10 years now. I'm coming up 1 month away from celebrating my 10-year anniversary with Mom's Best Friend, Veil Sitters, and I'm also one of the owners of Scout Reference. So if you use Scout Reference for your reference checking needs, I'm one of the owners alongside Kim and Jim Wineblood. And I am so excited to be here with you today and talk about leadership. And this is an exciting topic. We have some APNA initiatives that we're going to be launching over the next coming weeks and months to ignite our leadership. And so today's session is really just a starting point, an opening session about what is leadership, myths about leadership, what are we to do about leadership in our agencies? How are we to view ourselves as leaders as we own and operate agencies? And I'm just excited to be on this journey with you. I am always on a journey of igniting my leadership, and I hope that you will join me. This session was really added for the virtual conference because we've just realized and we've heard from you how important it is for you to grow in your leadership skills. And whether you have owned an agency for 1 year or 30 years, we have them all across the range, and it's important for us all to continue growing in our leadership abilities so that we can experience growth. I do have a question for you just to ponder. We're not taking all the mics off for you to answer it out loud, but just for you to ponder on this question, which is, did you start your agency in an effort to be in leadership? Did leadership come into factor when you made the decision to start your agency or purchase your agency or own an agency? I actually have the unique privilege of being over APNA membership, and I ask all of our new agencies, why did you start your agency? What got you into this? And very rarely do I hear leadership. I really was wanting to lead teams, and that term leadership just isn't something that comes up in our conversation. And I've really been dissecting leadership with my own internal team through Mom's Best Friend, and also with different agency owners, and just how important it is for us to view ourselves as strong leaders in order to reach next levels of growth in our agencies. So whatever your motivating factor is for doing your leadership, and I should have gone to this next slide, whatever your motivating factor was for starting your agency, in order for us to see growth, we have to change our mindset. We have to shift the way that we think about our businesses. And in this session, we're going to really get excited about leadership and how infusing leadership laws into our life and agency can really ignite growth into our industry and into our agencies. Leadership, in my mind, is really complex, and it's a mindset, and it's also a learned skill. So a lot of you may be saying to yourself, well, I'm just a one-woman show over here. I'm not leading a team every day. And that is what we're talking about. You are a leader, whether you have 0 employees or you have 100 employees that work for your agency. You may not have internal employees, but you represent a candidate pool. You have temp babysitters. You have a roster of individuals who are looking to you for possible career opportunities. So yes, every single one of us on this call are leaders. People rely on us. People are following us. So we have a team, you have a team, and they're looking to us for leadership. I hear this a lot, which is, but I'm not a leader, or I'm not a natural born leader. Like, how many times have you heard that, right? I'm not a natural born leader. And that's just wrong. I mean, that is a wrong way of thinking about it. The more and more I learn about leadership, the more I realize that it's really a learned skill. And it's a mindset shift. It's a learned skill. And all of us can ignite our leadership and compound on the abilities that we have and learn new leadership qualities to help our agencies continue to grow. One of the questions that I have is like, have you ever thought before you had an info call with a new family that this family is looking to me for leadership? What a mind shift that is, right? Most of us think like, okay, well, I got to talk to this family at 2 o'clock and they're wanting a newborn care specialist or they're wanting a part-time nanny. But what a mind shift it is for us to think this family needs a leader. They need an expert. They need someone to come and infuse leadership into their situation in order to get them to the other side of what they need, their new family, new parents. They have to go back to work, right? They don't know, they're not the experts in hiring a nanny. They're not the experts in childcare. Maybe this is their first child. They don't know the path. And so it's our job to view ourselves as leaders for all of our families, our caregivers, our nanny pool, our pools of housekeepers. They're looking to us for leadership. They're looking for us to guide them through the process to an incredible career that they could possibly have. And so I think it's a mind shift. It's not just about your internal team. I have the privilege of being one of the owners of Scout Reference, and I get to talk to agency owners all the time. And a lot of times I'll say, I think you're not thinking about this from a leadership perspective. You have a team. You're not a one-woman show. You are a leader. People are looking to you, and you need to learn about leadership and how to continue to grow your agency with leadership in mind. Is leadership scary and challenging and uncomfortable? I think the more you grow in it, the easier it gets and the more natural it gets. But yes, at first, learning about leadership is a little bit uncomfortable and challenging. This woman really freaks me out a little bit, but it's scary. It's one of those things. It's like, hey, I just want to like make placements and book nannies on jobs. And, that's really what I want to do. And that's my job. It's an uncomfortable thing to put yourself in a mindset of leadership for anyone that you talk to coming in contact with about your agency. But we need leaders in our industry. We truly need leaders in our industry. And we need leadership we need agency owners that are forward thinkers, problem solvers, drivers of change, visionaries, delegators, energy givers. Those are the great leaders. And most of you are probably a part of different networking groups, or we have like the professional agency owners Facebook groups. And I love that we have a forum that we can communicate with each other. APNA recently has a Facebook group for agencies who are members of APNA. And it's an amazing place for us to gain knowledge from each other. But it's also a great thing for you to look at all the comments and see if we are thinking about things from a leadership perspective. Is it the easiest thing for us just to ask for the answer to a question? Yes. Is it the best thing for us? No. We need to be thinking before we ask questions, all angles of the thing that we're wondering. Do our own research, be forward thinkers, be visionaries and delegators and energy givers. And so I think that there is a mindset with how we view ourselves and how we conduct business day by day and how we ask questions about business, right? We need to be forward thinkers and not just go straight to a Facebook forum for a very general question that can be answered by a Google search, right? That's not a leader. That's not a leader. You're not thinking like a leader. You're thinking of like an employee of a company. And you are an agency owner and you are a leader, and you should be forward thinking and a problem solver. And so that's just an example that I've thought about over time, is that owner isn't thinking like a leader, and we need to be shifting, and myself included. Like when I have a question, am I becoming a problem solver there? Am I using all of my resources around me to figure out the answers to those questions and learn? Or am I looking for someone just to tell me the answer, right there? And so it's a very convicting thought for myself. Like I said at the beginning, I've been sort of on this journey with our internal team over the past year. And I had this thought, and maybe you could join me sort of on this thought process, and maybe it will help you. But we have 23 internal team members that work across all lines of business, from veil sitters to mom's best friend we have a senior care division. And so I had this view or vision recently, actually over the past year, is what if all of my internal employees saw themselves as the owner of the company or the CEO of the company? What if every day our employees signed on and had the passion, energy, and vision that an owner had? And I realized that a lot of the reason why they see themselves as just doing a ticky-tacky job is because I haven't instilled within them leadership and leadership qualities and knowledge that I have on leadership that I can pour into others. If you have an internal team, or if you don't, and you're pouring into your babysitters or your nanny pool or your household staffing pool, we want to infuse leadership qualities into others so that we get more productivity out of them. We get more buy-in from them. They help us ignite our businesses and grow our businesses. It's one thing for one person to think, but what if 23 internal employees were thinking like I did and felt confident that they had the leadership skills to grow their divisions, to take ownership of what they're doing, to be forward thinkers and energy givers and visionaries? That would really grow our business, right? That was my thought. And over the past year, I've seen so much of that come to fruition. And so we started a little leadership book club. And a lot of this is what we're going to be doing for APNA, but we started with the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And man, was it amazing. We're going to actually start with that book in our APNA leadership series. But we started with it because at the very beginning of the book, it talks about how everybody is a leader. It's a learned skill. It's complex, but everyone is a leader in their own right, and we should all view ourselves as leaders and continue to learn and grow as leaders as well. It's a fundamental book. It's about leadership and mindset, and every one of us has God-given personalities and qualities, and whether we all have leadership ability and potential, and if we shift our mindset about leadership, we can really grow our businesses. I'm going to talk a lot about the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership and sort of my takeaways and some of the myths that they debunk about leadership. And so these are just some of the things that we're going to be talking about in our APNA leadership series, which is everybody's a leader. Will your strengths be all 21 laws? No, that's a lot of laws. It's a lot of leadership qualities. Do I have all of them? No. And the book is very specific in that everyone is a leader, but not everyone has all of the 21 laws of leadership. We are all learning, we are all growing, and we all have things that we can work on. We have to be committed to leadership. Leadership is a commitment. It has to be something that we believe in for our businesses and for yourself as an owner. You have to be committed to learning leadership skills, developing yourself, and developing others. Have you ever had this thought? Because I have. The reason why my placements are not working or I can't get nannies hired is because my nannies lack leadership. I recently had this thought with a nanny that was great on paper. She was an amazing candidate, incredible references, clear background checks, great interview with us. She couldn't get hired out of a trial because she lacked a mindset of leadership in the home. So again, leadership isn't just about your internal team. Leadership is about infusing leadership qualities and the importance of leadership onto our nannies and our babysitters for them to go into a home and really take the bull by the horns and, get schedules and curriculum and activities and those type of things. I remember when I had a nanny when my kids were a little younger, and she would come every week and she'd have a little meeting with the boys, talk about lots of different things, what the crafts are for the week, She would give me a list of supplies that they needed, right? They'd talk about their schedule. What are some things that they want to accomplish this week? All on and on, right? That was a nanny that showed leadership in her position. Our caregivers, our nannies, our babysitters should be infused with leadership, and it will only benefit us in the future. Leadership qualities are learned and developed over time. It's not an overnight success. Leadership is learned. Some of our seasoned agency owners can probably look back at 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago and cringe thinking about their leadership ability. I know I can even look back 10 years ago and just go, oh my gosh, they've grown over time. They've learned, they've been steadfast in their businesses, but they've been more steadfast in learning leadership qualities to take their agencies all the way to the next year, to the next area of growth. Over time, they've learned, they've grown, they've invested, and in turn, they have agencies that are still around 30 years later. I also have the privilege of serving on the APNA board of directors, and it's so amazing because you've got agency owners who are younger, that are newer in the industry, and you have agency owners who have run their business for 30 plus years and who are still as committed to growth and leadership as the leader who's young and who's a millennial who started 3 years ago, 5 years ago. They're as committed to it today as they ever have been. It goes back to number 2. And they continue to grow, knowing that leadership is not like one and done. You continue to learn and grow and compound. You have to be honest with yourself on each quality so that you know where your strengths lie and where you need to grow. I think honesty is just, some of us just may be on our high horse and, hey, I'm a leader and I'm the president or I'm the owner and I'm the leader. But take an internal look and read books like the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership and see where you're strong and see where you're weak and where you can infuse more learning and growing into those weaknesses. Because again, it's a mindset and a learned quality. And then you have to work. Building leadership qualities is work. And you have to know what your weaknesses are. We have to know what your strengths are. And you have to also hire based on your weaknesses. There are some things that I can learn, and there are some things that I need to hire based on my weaknesses in order to help take my next agency to the next level. All right. And then we're going to sort of talk about some myths about leadership. And again, all of this comes from the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, the beginning part of that book. And so I want to sort of talk about some of these lies or myths that we've all trained ourselves to believe, or we've seen on social media or TV or whatever it is that people want us to believe about leadership. And the myth or lie is that leadership and managing are the same. That's the myth. That's the lie. In total wrong there, like X wrong. In the Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, it says the main difference between managing and leadership is that leadership is about influencing people to follow, while management focuses on maintaining systems and processes. So think about yourself. Is that you? Are you more every day sitting in your seat in your agency thinking about the processes and the systems in place? Are you thinking more about influencing the people around you, building relationships and getting to know people and infusing things that you've learned onto other people? Pretty convicting thing, I know, for me. He also and I want to back up, he also says in the book, the best way to test whether a person can lead rather than just manage is to ask that person to create positive change. It was awesome for me to read when I did. Managers maintain direction, but often they can't change it. To move people or companies in a new direction, you need influence. Such a big difference between influencing and managing. That was a gut punch for me. So evaluate yourself. And are you managing day to day or leading your team and others, clients, etc.? All right. The other myth or lie that we want to believe about leadership is entrepreneurs or leaders. You may consider yourself a leader solely based on you starting an agency or starting a business, but look around. Is anyone following you? Are you struggling to keep employees? Do you sit around waiting on phones to ring? Are you actively changing to generate leads? That's a great thought. right? Are you leading yourself? Are you leading your agency? Are you sitting around waiting for the phones to ring? Are you actively learning? Are you actively building relationships, getting involved in the community in order to generate those leads? That's a mindset shift. It's definitely a gut punch for me, for sure. The other myth or lie is I'm a leader because I read books and take leadership courses. All of that is great. You should keep doing that. But after every book and after every course, you need to put those things into practice. The other myth or lie is I'm not a leader because I do not have an internal team. We've already talked about this, right? I already touched on this, but just because you don't have an internal team doesn't mean people aren't looking to you for leadership every day. Your families, your caregivers, you are the expert. They're looking to you to lead them through the process in order for a big victory at the end. They're hiring you for a victory at the end. And leaders know how to get people to the victory, not just manage the workflow, not just manage the automated emails that go out. They're looking for a personal experience with you and for you to lead them to victory, which means they have an amazing permanent placement nanny or an incredible date night babysitter or a house, whatever it is. And then the last myth or lie is just position equals leadership. This is the great misunderstanding about leadership. John Maxwell talks about this. A title doesn't make you a leader. Even though you may be the owner, founder, president, it's just a title. But what you do with that matters. And so think about that. Just because you started a business, what have you done next? Getting an LLC and putting up a website is one thing. But have you developed yourself? Have you learned to lead? Leadership is going to take our agencies to the next level. All right, so we've talked about what the lies and myths and sort of debunked those, but what is leadership then? If those things are not leadership, then what is? And, John Maxwell in the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership says the true measure of a leader is influence. The first one is character, who you are. There's a great man, Billy Graham, you know him, whether or not you follow him or believe the things that he says or religious or not religious, I think we can all agree on that he had great influence over people. He was a great influencer. He had a huge following. Because of what he said, yes, in great part, but a lot of just his character, who he was. He walked the walk and talked the walk. He was who he says that he was. And for our agencies, how important is that? We market ourselves, we put things on our website, but are we walking the walk? Are we talking the talk? Are we doing the things that we say that we're going to do? Are we showing true character? I think that's an important thing for us. Relationships, who you know. It's important, who you know. And do you know your team? Do you know your families? Do you know your pool of candidates? It's a big thing about leadership. People know if you care about them. Knowledge, what you know. You need to grasp the facts and understanding about dynamic factors and timing and vision for the future. Do your homework constantly on your industry and markets and things that are changing about the industry. It does make me go back to that Facebook group, and a lot of questions that come through are things that you should know about your industry if you were leading your position correctly. You are the industry experts. Don't rely on other people to just give you the answers. You are so in tune with your families and your caregivers that you don't have to ask what the going rate for this is. You know, because you have taken a leadership perspective in your business. Intuition, what you feel. This is what separates a leader from a manager. A leader seeks to recognize and influence the intangibles. Let me say that again. A leader seeks to recognize and influence the intangibles, such as energy and morale, timing, momentum. You've got your finger on the pulse of everything going on in your business. That's a leadership. It's intuition. Experience, where you've been. There's a reason why APNA conferences are sprinkled with panel discussions. They're some of my favorite things. When we have a panel discussion at APNA, find me on the front row, taking notes, scribbling notes like crazy, because the panel discussion and Q&A is so much about the things that they've been through, things that they did right that I want to do right too, things that they did wrong that I want to learn from, because I don't want to make that same mistake when I already know the answer to it. John Maxwell says, the greater the challenges you have faced as a leader in the past, the more likely followers are to give you a chance to lead in the present. When you're on an info call, lead that info call and talk about your experience. It'll go far. It doesn't just help your team if you don't tell them about times that you've messed up, you've struggled, you've overcame. It's called experience, and sharing it is vital for leaders to gain followers. I remember when I started working at Moms Best Friend, Kim Weinblatt and I would talk about just crazy situations that she had been through. And I would ask her questions about, like, have you ever gone through this? And what path forward, and she would tell me about, I wish I would have done it this way. This was my experience. And I wish I would have done it this way, which has helped me make a path forward for making those decisions in the future. Past success, what you've done. You want to follow leaders who have good track records. Even when things are tough, leaders find a path out, which leads them ultimately to growth. And then the last one is ability, what you can do. That's leadership. Your staff, your families, or candidates, they want to know, like I said earlier, that you have the ability to lead them to victory. If everything about your conversations are about process, they're not going to trust you to lead them to victory, because this is a personal experience they're hiring your company for. But they want to know that they have hired the right company to lead them on the path to victory. I'm going to go back to this before I do my thank you page, but bottom line, leadership is a journey. I'm on this journey with you. I have been in this industry for 10 years, and I know that in the next 20 years, I have so much to learn. And I think in 10 more years, I'm going to look back at my time now and kind of, oh my gosh, like, things have changed and I've changed with them. I've grown as a leader. And so it's a fun journey with the right perspective, but it's not always easy. But the rewards really exceed all of the pain. If you want a thriving agency, we have to view ourselves as leaders. We have to think like leaders. We have to act like leaders. We have to learn like leaders and position ourselves in a way that people want to follow us. That's it. That's the bottom line. Do we have followers? Look behind you. Do you have people that are wanting to follow, or do you have people who can't wait to be a part of your agency, who can't wait to be represented by you? You have shown leadership. You can't wait for families to want to work with you because you have a reputation that you have the ability to get them to the finish line for a victory, that you care about relationships, and that you have experience in the industry, that you have good character, right? Good character will take us a long way in growing our agencies, and it's all about leadership. All right, so thank you so much for just being a part of this session. I'm excited to answer some Q&As. If hopefully this session got you excited about learning, igniting your leadership, and ultimately, just growing your businesses together. Starting in the next month or so, APNA, we're going to be having the Leadership Knowledge Network, and this is designed for agency owners or key employees in the industry to have discussions, share valuable insights, and ultimately empower our agencies to continue that next level. So I hope that you'll be a part of it. You can scan this QR code, find out all the details, fill out the Google form. I'll be in touch with you. And again, thank you so much for being on this journey of igniting our leadership. I'm super excited to be a part of APNA, be on the board of directors of APNA, and see all of our agencies continue to grow with leadership in mind. So with that, we'll go to some Q&A.
All right, all right. Thank you so much, Lindsay, for such a beautiful and outstanding session on leadership. I don't know about you, but I was thinking deeply about and considering our character, our intuition, our ability, and the roles that plays in our leadership. We all know that leadership plays a critical role in all aspects of our lives. So I really appreciate how you shared your insights and expertise with us today. If you're open, I'd love to go ahead and dive into some Q&A. One of the questions we've received is, how can we redefine the concept of leadership to empower every individual within our agency?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's definitely been a journey that we've been on at Mom's Best Friend and Scout Reference for the past few years. A few of the things, and a question that I got submitted to was very similar. how do we redefine that? I think it really just starts with agency owners. I think in a lot of the conversations that I have with agency owners day by day, even in the ones who use Scout for reference checking needs, is, they view themselves as like a past nanny, or they view themselves as sort of what they did in the past, but now they're on this journey of starting and owning an agency, leading staff, and they haven't switched that mindset to sort of an owner's mentality, a leader mentality, where they are sort of out of the nitty gritty of, the day-to-day operations and actually pouring their business knowledge and expertise into their employees. And so it's really doing nobody a service. I mean, we've been on this journey. I mean, Kim and Jim Weinblood and I have been on this journey for a long time, where we're trying to reshape our employees' mindsets. And like I said in the session, really wanting them to see themselves as leaders in our business, so that we can take more of a ownership seat in our businesses and think about, bigger picture, visionary, long-term effects of the business and things like that. But I think it's really important. I think it's important that agency owners sort of get out of this mindset of like ticky-tacky day-to-day things and really position themselves as the leaders that they are, owning businesses.
Yeah, and I really liked, to whomever asked that question, I really liked what Lindsay said in her session about how one of the differences and key differences between leadership and management is the effect that they have on a positive trajectory, right? And how management just maintains the course while our leadership can change that course. And so if we're redefining the concept of leadership so that we can empower individuals within our agency, then we can give them autonomy and encourage them to create positive change and positive directives, positive direction in their specific roles. And I think that that can help to redefine that leadership mindset in each of the individuals on your team. Another question we received was, I have struggled with leadership when I have to serve alongside some of my team. What are some tips to be a good leader without appearing bossy or too authoritative?
Gosh, you're like speaking, to, I mean, it definitely dealt with that for sure a lot. I mean, I just think a lot of it comes with time. I mean, if I like think about myself even 10 years ago, I mean, I guess you just kind of have to, grow together. But again, leadership is not about like dictatorship. It's not about, and especially in small business, we all have a voice, and we should make sure that our employees feel like they have a voice as well. So I don't know, one of the things that I've realized over time that I do is position a lot of the things that I want them to think as questions. And I don't have a good example of that, but making them think outside of the box, making them think about leadership, posing things that I want them to do, maybe not as like a directive, but as like a question. And in a way, I'll, a couple weeks later, you'll say like, well, hey, I had this idea. And you're kind of in the back of your mind going, oh yeah, well, I kind of gave you that idea, and it's the humility, right? It's the taking, allowing them to take more of a front seat, praising them, giving them really positive affirmation. One of the things I tell our employees, we're a small business. We can make a change in a minute. So if you have an idea, you should bring it to the table and let's do it. Let's say yes more than we say no to them, to keep empowering them. Maybe it doesn't work out, right? Or maybe it's something that we just can't financially do, but most of it we can do. And so I think, taking away that, hey, you have to do this and you have to do this. And hey, what if we did this? What if we did this together? Or what if you took this idea and you ran with it and put your own spin on it? Just really making them a part of the conversation, a part of the growth. And everybody's winning at the end, and you may not get the praise, right? Like a lot of times I see my team and they're like, hey, we made this great, this new thing. And I'm going, gosh, sometimes you kind of go, well, that was so my idea. It doesn't matter if it's your idea. It's your business. You're going to thrive, because of that. It's really about the positive affirmation for them seeing, something that, that you gave their idea and taking it to the next level. So I think a lot of it is just like humility and just being willing to be humble in those situations.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that I really love what you said about the humility, because I think the best leaders are, my husband calls them servant leaders. And so I think with regards to looking at ways that we can serve our teams versus just ways that we can quote unquote lead our teams really puts us better in a better posture. And I think it takes away what whomever asked that question, that feeling of feeling bossy or too authoritative, when we're all just serving one another and we're all just helping one another. And in that position, like Lindsay said, of being humble and just really having one goal in mind together and collectively, I think that you'll find that you're less in that seat. Someone else asked, it would be helpful, I apologize, if you could provide some practical examples as to the difference between leaders and managers. So some practical examples of the difference between a leader versus a manager.
Okay, yes, I definitely need to think through that probably. So I'm like right off the top, I think I said this in my session there's just a major difference between leading somebody and managing someone. Like managing, I see this with, sort of some of our employees where like they have a task list and it's, check, 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 and then it's completed, right? I don't think I have any off the top of my head, just like really practical examples, but we all know if you were really to think about previous jobs that you had, families that you worked with, right, there's a major difference between someone at a store that manages somebody's schedule as opposed to someone who is really leading their organization into growth, into visionary, into thinking about ownership, things that you should be thinking about. I think a big problem that I see that, again, we have dealt with as well is like, it's easy for us to take the info calls and make the placements and do all those things. Is that the best use of our time, especially like in this economy or especially in this climate that we're dealing with? No, we need to have people on board that believe in themselves, that can do those things. And for us to be the leaders where it's visionary and things like that. But if we're just managing our employees and we're not leading our employees, we're going to lose employees. They're not going to be super invested in our organization like we want them to. If you're losing employees a lot, I think you may have a leadership problem. I know, I think if we can look back on previous years, we've definitely made a lot of growth, but yeah, I hope that's sort of answered, but definitely email me and hopefully I'll come up with some more answers. I'm sure after this session, I'm going to be like, oh, here.
Too. I thought that was very insightful. What I gained from that is really like the difference between a leader and a manager is creativity. I think a leader is a creative. They are someone that can create out of nothing, or they can create and innovate, whereas a manager is just managing the thing that they are handed. And so I really just kind of gleaned from all that you were saying, just like the common threads of just being a creative and being someone that can innovate, that they think outside of the box, that can come up with new ideas, that can add to the conversation. So I was super inspired by what you just said. I'm still here for it. I'm here for all of it. Another question we received are, what are some top tips for introducing leadership training to your team?
Okay, that's a good idea. We've definitely been on that journey for sure. And we're still on the journey with you as we continue to grow, training our team into leadership. When we started this journey, we started super small, right? We're not having leadership training every day. That's impossible. We don't have the time for that. We started with 30 minutes every week. We're now up to about a 1 hour sort of leadership training every week where we just meet with our directors and we're just infusing our knowledge. We're reading leadership books that help us sort of think big picture, that think like leaders. And this kind of ranges in a lot of different topics, but we're on our, I think, third or fourth book now. And I've seen the growth majorly in our employees. I think they're excited about problem solving. I think they're excited about leading their overseas team that they have. So start small, be committed to it, right? You can't just have it once a year, it's really something that you stay at and you're committed to. I mean, we have it on the calendar. Everybody's on that meeting. And not think of it as a waste of time. And your brain may go, well, gosh, we could have probably staffed 5 Bright Horizons jobs during that, 1 hour, but we're going to choose to not do that. We're going to set it aside. We're maybe going to delegate that to an overseas team. And we're going to just focus on developing right. And then it's like the dream, right? Owners being able to step back into an ownership seat, right? Being the problem solver, being the visionary, bringing that, having the more flexibility because you've developed the leaders to lead their divisions day by day. And so I think that is being committed to it. And then just keeping for yourself, like the goal of this is to infuse as much of your personal knowledge and other people's knowledge into your employees so that you can continue to problem solve and grow your agency on this other track.
That's so insightful. I really love just the fact that you keep it on the calendar and that you're consistent with it. I think that's so amazing. How important is it to provide leadership training for your overseas team or even US-based team members who are solely providing administrative support?
Yeah, that's a great thing. That has been really eye-opening to me with our overseas team. We have a pretty large overseas team, and they really typically historically have not been developed or poured into. It's a lot of the US based directors, which we spend a lot of time with our US based employees, but we have started really mentoring our overseas team. So what happens is we meet with our internal team, give them leadership, we go through books, and then they meet with their overseas team and do the same thing with them. So it's like it trickles down, right? Because they're managing their overseas team and they're pouring the same knowledge that they're learning into their overseas team. And the responses that we've gotten are amazing. In fact, one of them said the other day, I've just never gone through any training, right? Any type of developmental training. And they can be some of our greatest assets, right? They're low cost employees that help our bottom line as employers and owning a business in the US or in other, countries. And also they can be developed. They can be leaders in their own. I see our overseas team problem solving. Instead of just coming to us and wanting us to solve a problem, they're like, hey, we had this issue. Here's how I think we should have it. I just deal with it. What do you think about that? Right? They've already problem solved by the time it gets to us. And I think a lot of that has to do with the leadership training that they're getting as well. So I think it's really important, and I think it's vital, and I think we should be putting them on our team just like our US based employees. I mean, I know our overseas team are right there with us day by day, and I think it's really important that we pour into them. I think you'll have longevity with them as well.
Awesome. Can you share a personal experience where you felt like your leadership skills were challenged, and how then did you overcome that given some of these laws that you've learned recently?
I don't know if I have, it's another one of these things. I have really great questions. Oh my gosh. I should have had a cheat sheet here. I need to think about if my leadership was challenged or not. Can you repeat the second half of that conversation or that question?
Yeah, so a personal experience where your leadership skills were challenged, and how did you overcome that, or how did you apply like some of these laws that you've learned through the books that you've read and the trainings that you've done to overcome that?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we've recently doing is trying to infuse a lot of this leadership into our external team, our nannies, our sitters, our senior caregivers. I don't know if I have an example of where it's been challenged, but I've realized that, and I think I said this in my session, was I think our nannies need leadership training. In fact, we're doing it quarterly now with all of our external sitters and caregivers, because they're going into homes and they're, kind of sometimes botching up trials, not interviewing properly because they're not thinking like a leader, right? They're not coming into the home and having a leadership mindset where they're taking charge of the day with the kids, those type of things. So I think we've been infusing a lot of our like laws of leadership onto our sitters, which in turn, of course, helps us have better placements, better longevity with sitter clients and senior care clients. And so I think a lot of the things that we're learning, we're also sort of trying to transition to other people that we may not be considered leaders, right? We want our nannies to have professional development, to have leadership development, to have these qualities where they can go into the home and, the mom's just like, wow, right? They bring agendas and they bring plans and they really took charge and I didn't have to worry about anything. So I don't know if that really answered the question exactly, but hopefully that helps.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I have thoroughly enjoyed learning from you about leadership. As you all know, I'm down for anything professional development related. I am here for the growth. I am here for learning. I'm here for the curiosity that we're supposed to have as humans. I hope that you've been inspired into your leadership to really just reevaluate that. This entire summit, I hope you take time to just continue to reevaluate intrinsically what is motivating you, the things that are driving you, the things that are speaking to you, and just really taking time after these sessions to reflect back on what you've learned, reflect back on the points that Lindsay made today, and really see applicable ways that you can put that into effect. We have more coming from you. We're going to be coming back here, let me see here, with recruitment. So if you've had questions about recruitment, you have struggles with recruitment, you're going to want to meet us back here in about 15 minutes as we learn about modern recruitment tactics. I'm excited about it. I hope you're excited about it. We'll see you in about 15, and thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.